things don't really end up the way I wanted them to. It's a lesson that you were supposed to learn.
Before Julia Fox would earn a whole ton of praise for her debut performance in the film Uncut Gems.
And Josh kept an eye on me, and he always knew he wanted to do something with me. I didn't realize what a big deal it was going to be.
Before Julia Fox would become the queen of tabloid fodder on account of her developing relationship with Kanye West.
Whole night was over the top and included a full-on surprise photo shoot with Interview magazine.
Before Julia Fox would have nearly 1 million followers on Instagram at the time of this recording, I would check last week, it was like 500,000. So that's a lot of newfound clout.
Modern day New York socialite Julia Fox has been using her past couple years in the spotlight to totally rewrite the story of her life. This young woman was born across the ocean in Europe and only moved stateside when she was 6 years old.
A little over 20 years later, and she's officially become one of the most high-profile celebrities in the country, especially after news broke that she and Kanye West were sailing the seas of romance. Now, since then, it's been an endless series of photo shoots, interviews, and countless nights out with her brand new dude.
Of course, for Julia, being constantly on the go is nothing new. After all, once she landed on the shores of the US, she and her father would move around constantly. By the time her teenage years were wrapping up, Julia had found numerous ways to provide for herself, including selling her own undergarments on the street, as well as working a side hustle as a dominatrix.
Yeah, we found a lot of stuff you ain't gonna hear anywhere else. Now, if you want to learn more about the crazy history of Julia Fox, then keep watching our latest episode of Before They're Famous. My name, of course, is Michael McCrudden.
And I'm Kara the Vampire Slayer. You can find us both all over social media under our names, so give us a follow, and we will see you after the intro.
Also, we're getting married, so you might really want to follow.
Woo!
You're gonna see us in Vegas.
Married by Elvis.
For real. All right, let's go. Julia Fox was born on February 2nd, 1990 in Milan, Italy. Now, her mother was a natural Italian citizen and her father was an American who soon after her birth, quickly split from the country. Now, Julia would then spend the majority of the next 6 years of her life living with her maternal grandfather in Verona, Italy, which is a very quaint, sheltered town located just outside of Milan.
During those early years with her grandfather, Julia's mother finished college while her father went back home to New York City, where he lived on a boat docked just off the coast. As a toddler, Julia would go back and forth between both countries to spend time with her parents.
And I was here for 2 years, and I went back there until I was 5 or 6. Then I came back here. My life's just always been back and forth.
When Julia's father was eventually settled enough to get a job in construction, he sent for Julia, who then joined him in America permanently. Now, speaking about moving across the ocean to be with her father, Julia told Rolling Stone, "The first thing he did when I moved to America is he brought me to the corner of our apartment building and he pointed to the street signs. And he was like, 'This is where you live. So whatever happens, just remember to come back here.' Then he sent me off into the world." That's kind of creepy. It's almost like, girl, get to work on the street corner. Anyway, that's how I interpret that.
That's weird. Well, Julia's youth in New York was tumultuous to say the least. She would attend something like 6 different high schools while she and her father changed apartments constantly around the city. Basically, her father would move them from one fixer-upper to another, renovating the home, and then moving on to the next. Julia was so unsatisfied with this nomadic lifestyle that most of the time, she would just latch onto a friend's house and go stay with them, knowing that her father, he wouldn't really care all that much.
Now, by the time she was 13 or 14, Julia was already escaping down the fire escape at night to go clubbing in that what was often stolen attire. In fact, as a teen, she once got caught shoplifting at Bloomingdale's. Now, shortly thereafter, at 15, she ran off with her then boyfriend, who was something of a small-time drug dealer. But hey, at least he had his own place. Girls always like them older guys.
Eventually, her boyfriend wound up getting caught and going to jail. At that point, Julia needed to find a new place. She moved in with another friend in downtown New York and started looking for ways to earn a living.
Now, this was back when Craigslist still had an adult gig section on its site. I remember those days. And Julia, she would cruise the listings there to find something that she felt comfortable enough with to make some decent money. Now, for instance, she started selling her panties and her other used garments to some dude who would meet her at Union Square. You think that's a good idea?
Yeah, nice.
She then stumbled upon another listing that stated quite clearly, no nudity, no sex. Now that ad, it would wind up being for a dominatrix. And that's how Julia Fox got into the BDSM scene before she even graduated from high school.
Damn. Julia would later credit her time as Valentina the dominatrix with helping ease her transition into acting. Speaking of the comparisons between the two, she told Rolling Stone, "There's no script, you're given a few words on what the client's interests are, and then you have to build from there and improvise the rest." So imagine having to do that multiple times a day in different outfits. A nun, teacher, nurse, mom, according to the client's desires.
The money was good, and what's more, the gig, it would lead to her first real long-term relationship with a wealthier older man. Now at the time, Julia says that she used to pray for someone to take her away from the life she was living, and she'd spend the next 5 years with this guy. But eventually the relationship, it turned, and Julia, well, she began to feel like she was simply playing a part.
It probably didn't help that by this point in her life, Julia was a pill addict and struggling with a heroin addiction to boot. She's since kicked both and ended that toxic relationship as well. After moving on, Julia would join the hard-partying downtown scene of New York and publish a couple of art books.
Determined to take control of her life, well, Julia, she would undertake a series of different projects over the next few years as she searched for her place in the world. Now that included creating her own line of knitwear, which would eventually be worn by Hollywood stars like Rumor Willis.
Then she took her passion for art to the next level when she decided to create a series of pieces on silk wood, using her own blood as the paint for a show she titled R.I.P. Julia Fox.
Kind of trying to find out where I fit in, who I am. I write almost every day. Yeah, I'm still exploring.
Over time, Julia's reputation as an artist around the city really began to blossom, and she'd meet up with coming filmmakers, the Safdie brothers. They met only in passing, but Josh Safdie, he would follow Julia on social media and became obsessed with her early gram posts and her work via Vine.
It was just read the script, and then he would, ask me for some direction.
Eventually, when he and his brother got to Uncut Gems, they wrote the part of the female lead with Julia in mind and offered it to her. Later on, when Martin Scorsese would board the project as a producer, Julia would have to win the role outright. But by the time the film was ready to shoot, she had convinced everyone involved that she was perfect for it.
Since the release of that film, well, Julia, she found herself a Hollywood agent, she began taking acting classes, and she started plotting her own film called Fantasy Girls, which is about the teenage sex trade set in Reno, Nevada.
She also met and fell in love with private pilot Peter Artemiev, and the two would have a son together in early 2020. Soon after that, however, they would split.
And things got ugly, for real. Today, Julia's life has once more been thrown into flux with the advent of a relationship to none other than Kanye West. Over the past few weeks, well, Julia and Kanye's developing relationship has made headlines all over the world. Now, first, these two, they were spotted on a series of dinner dates, and they even hit up Broadway.
At the time, they were said to be having nothing more than some fun with one another after connecting through some mutual friends. But over the next few weeks, all of this would turn into more. And by more, I mean a photo shoot and accompanying piece for Interview magazine.
It's funny, I saw a meme where she's like, everyone in the restaurant stopped and looked at us. And then someone posted a video and no one cared. Just it happened. Now, during her interview, Julia would reveal that despite what a lot of people seem to think, this is simply not some PR move that's designed to reinvigorate Kanye's image after his very public divorce from Kim Kardashian. Now, it's also not a way for Julia to get more famous than she already is. In fact, she told Interview, "There's always people that think every single celebrity scandal is a setup. I personally don't. It's just people that make each other feel better."
A few days after meeting Kanye, she says that she packed up a large portion of her belongings from her former life into boxes, and that this decision to let go of her past would prove to be very cathartic.
Better yet, Julia says that after years of being a total control freak, well, she's finally found someone who wants to take care of her, just like she's always dreamed about those many years ago while she was still a teenager. Probably while she was a dominatrix.
I was just thinking that.
They don't care about anything but themselves. Anyway, Julia is looking at a relationship with Kanye as the first step in what she calls her redemption story.
As for where Julia's life takes her from here, well, that's for another time, another place. After all, this is before they were famous.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now, if you like it when we host together, well, you can see a lot more of us hanging out on the daily because, yeah, the two of us are getting married
Woohoo.
on February 14th.
Yay!
Where, babe?
In Vegas.
By who?
Because this one was postponed.
Yes.
By Elvis.
Elvis, yeah.
Because we both love Elvis.
So come see us in Vegas. All right, see you guys in another video.